Yeah, when every single little thing meant a little more.
Yeah. Hell, maybe the Hulk Hogan era wasn't so bad.
Well, I mean, well, again, I
Too
think it
far?
all in well, not necessarily. I mean, you say the Hulk Hogan era, but when you say the Hulk Hogan era, that's just one guy. I mean, when you say era, that's a whole different thing. Hulk Hogan era. Well, when you say Hulk Hogan era, Hulk Hogan is just the one guy, but the era is a lot of people.
Fair
And
point.
like when you talk about, I guess, that era, and I'm going to refer to my WrestleMania 6 review. And if you guys haven't listened to that yet, please do. Um, but I'll use one of the finishes from one of those matches. The classic, grab your opponent by the legs and slingshot them into the corner, right? You see that over and over again, time and time again. You can probably picture it right now, bro, where Triple H would jump up and bounce his face off the rope and flop back into the middle of the ring, right?
Or they'd hit the post, or there'd
Well,
be
that's what I mean. He hits the post and flops back into the ring.
yeah, or
You can
there'd
picture what that looks like.
or there'd be a ladder in the corner or something. Yeah.
Well, for this scenario, it is just the ring post because that's how this match of WrestleMania 6 was what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig gets slingshot into the corner, hits his head on the post. He gets pinned right after that. That was the finish. Okay. So in 1990, hitting your head on the top of a metal ring post mattered. Okay. It doesn't. Whole different thing.
Yeah.
Look, watch some of this older stuff. And that's what I'm talking about with some of these older reviews I've been doing. You have to watch it and take some of it with a grain of salt. And you have to remind yourself that things different, but there was a reason why they did those things. As compared to now where they can do all this other shit, but none of it matters because none of it means anything. That ring post thing was just one of those things.
I mean, that's an interesting, it's an interesting thing though that you bring up, and it reminds me of something we've talked about before, where, like I remember when we were growing up watching Stone Cold and The Rock and Shawn Michaels and DX and all that stuff, and into the ruthless aggression era with guys like John Cena and stuff like that starting to come up and everything. I remember all the time, Dad sitting there saying, "Oh man, this wrestling sucks now. It ain't nothing like it was when I was your age, with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat and all that." And we go back and watch a WrestleMania from that era, and we're like, "This sucks." There might be one decent match out of the whole card, but now I feel like I'm him because I watch wrestling now, and I'm like, "This all sucks."
I know the feeling.
And what made me think of that was when you were like, yeah, when somebody hit their ring post, when somebody hit their head on the ring post, that meant something back then. Well, in Dad's time, when he was watching wrestling, when it was big and everything, when he was, a teenager or whatever, watching wrestling, a leg drop meant something. A DDT meant something. Right. An elbow drop meant something. And so
okay. Now this is a whole nother conversation, which is I'm actually kind of excited to talk about here, because again, looking at that older stuff and everything meaning something, there was a reason for that. Is because the whole, I guess, reason why they were doing all this was to put on the show the illusion that they were in a fight with one another. They didn't like each other, therefore they were trying to hurt each other. That was the whole point. Right? Unless you had a babyface scenario and it's just trying to figure out who is the better guy or something. You can kind of play that off however you want, but they were fighting each other to hurt each other.
Yeah.
There's kind of the whole idea here, and prove who is the best. Where now it instead of you got dropped on your head and the guy beat you, it's I'm able to do 45 more flips than this guy, so I'm obviously better than him. What?
Yeah.
I'm a better acrobat than him, so I must be better. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
How does that explain, like, I can win a fight against this guy because I can flip backwards?
Or it's either that or you're fucking 7 foot tall, 300 pounds, and fucking, you know, and two.
And it can't be taught. I know.
Yeah.
So I had to throw that one in there. I knew you'd get that one.
How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing?
But yeah, I mean, unless you're built like Braun Strowman, you know, or somebody like that, you know, 7 foot tall, you know, these big fucking huge guys, you don't get pushed anyways, you know, and those guys can't do a fucking thing, you know, other than just be a big goof, just fucking, I lift things up and put them down. You know, they can't do shit.
But even with that though, back in the day, again, being that big would mean something. Somebody didn't just walk up to Andre the Giant and start throwing him around. It wasn't a thing. You know, you walked up to Andre the Giant, he put his hands on you, and you're getting knocked the hell out, period. You know, but it was only like one big guy that was able, and obviously we're talking Hogan here at WrestleMania 3, that was able to actually put up a fight against this guy.
Yeah.
You know, where now, you know, especially, and no offense to The Big Show, no offense to Rey Mysterio should not put up a fight against The Big Show. I'm sorry. That's not a thing.
I mean, one of the last matches that I saw that was kind of like that was Kalisto and Ryback. I think it was for the United States Championship. They were doing like a tournament for the United States Championship or something like that. And it was one of the matches was Kalisto and Ryback. And again, Kalisto, tiny little lucha wrestler, Ryback, this big ass fucking meathead whose leg is the size of fucking, you know, Kalisto's abdomen. You know, it's like this shouldn't even be a thing. You know what I mean? These two guys shouldn't even be in the ring together. You know, but that match was actually done well. Kalisto, you know, it was done semi-convincing, you know, to where it looked like Kalisto was just faster, you know, more agile, and whereas Ryback was this big, slow fucking, you know, goof. And so I mean,
obviously it's a way to work out every scenario. It's just how it's done.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't remember the match between Rey Mysterio and the Big Show. I don't remember it one bit. It might have been done well. It might not have been. You know, it's hard to say. And I mean, the whole thing of it is too is, I mean, we all know by now that this is fucking scripted shit, and it's there to put on a show. So I mean, yeah, in any legitimate sporting event, like, I guess we'll use the UFC for example, you're not gonna put a guy like the Big Show and Rey Mysterio in a you know, in the octagon together. It's just not gonna happen. You know, but for the sake of fairness, but for the sake of entertainment, yeah, you're gonna do that shit all day long. You know, just to see this little guy.
But try to make me believe it. That's the whole point of all of this.
And exactly, and that's like, again, going back and watching that No Mercy 2003 pay-per-view. I'm referencing that one quite a bit because it's like the only one I've watched recently.
I mean, it's recent and it's fresh in your mind, so I mean, it makes sense.
But I mean, also too, one of my most favorite pay-per-views is also from that same era, fucking the Royal Rumble 2004 when Chris Benoit won it. Chris Benoit wasn't, you know, a small guy like Rey Mysterio, but he wasn't a big guy neither. He was a short, stocky little dude. Well, not little dude, but he was a short, stocky guy. You know, so he was still a fairly small dude compared to a guy like the Big Show. And when he won the Royal Rumble in 2004, it was, at least from the last time that I watched it, and I've watched at least the finish to that Royal Rumble probably within the last year. I've watched it recently. And the way that it was done, the show that Chris Benoit and the Big Show put on was convincing. Like it looked like it was a 100% believable possibility that Chris Benoit legitimately pulled the Big Show over the top rope. You know, it was done well. And that's the thing. I feel like now things aren't done well. They're just done. It doesn't matter if they're done well or not. Because they don't play out they don't invest time into talent anymore. You know, they'll go out there and be like, okay, all right, here you go, kid. You know, for the next 3 weeks, we're giving you a push, you know, and then if they, you know, and then they either make it or they don't, which, I mean, I guess when you've got a fucking talent pool that size, I mean, sure, it's like, okay, here's your chance. You've got 3 weeks to impress me. Go out there and do it. After 3 weeks, you don't impress me. Well, your push is gone. I mean, I don't know, but
my thing with all of that is the way the shape that everything is in now is partially to do with, I guess, the writers or those in charge. And then the other part is the talent themselves. And what I mean by that is the talent, and since there is so much of it, are having to go out there and push the bar and do all these things. That's why you're seeing more flips and, more hard hitting, strikes and everything so chaotic. But that's the only way they're going to get noticed, is to do something hasn't been seen before. On the flip side of that, there's not somebody in charge going, don't be doing this shit. There's no reason for it, and you're doing it. And there's, just because you can do 5 flips doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. Well,
then so one guy does that, then the next guy has to do 6, and the next guy's got to do 7. Just because it hasn't been seen before. So they've pushed it so far to the point now to where, again, nothing matters anymore, because the next guys come along and had to push it a little further and a little further, and nobody's been there to stop them and go, you don't need to do this because this right here is enough.
Well, yes and no when it comes on that. I think what happened, I mean, some of that is true. I mean, I think it's partially correct. I think on some other things, the bar was raised so high to the point where, basically the WWE and the wrestling industry as a whole basically had to step in and say, don't do this ever again. To the point where there's certain things they're not allowed to do anymore. So it's not going to look as good as it used to, because they just can't do it anymore for safety reasons. I mean,
well, yeah, but that's partially what I'm talking about. They pushed it so far to where it got dangerous, and it didn't need to be pushed that far to begin with.
Well, to me, it sounded like the point you were trying to make was they just keep pushing it farther and farther and farther and farther and farther, like with the flips and everything like that, and
well, in certain aspects, I believe that they do. If you watch a match nowadays, and you probably haven't seen it, but I'll use one that I've seen recently as an example. Aleister Black, which is somebody I am a fan of, against Murphy. These guys straight up kicked and kneed and punched each other in the face probably about 160 times. And I'm not thinking that's really an exaggeration.
Yeah. I've seen both of those two have matches before, and yeah, every other thing is a knee or a kick or something.
And something as simple as that is kind of what I'm talking about. Back in the day, one guy gets punched in the face and he's rocked. He's fucking spaghetti leg. Now, somebody gets kneed in the face, you can almost see a tooth out, and he's on to his next spot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're pushing even the simplest things like that to the point where none of it's believable anymore.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But again, there's nobody stopping them going, why are you kicking him 7 times? There's no reason for that.
Because your star attraction is somebody who German suplexes somebody 15 times in one match.
Well, again, somebody needs to be like, this is unnecessary. Don't do this stupid shit.